Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we turn to talking about the Supreme Court of the United States. As most of you are probably aware, one of the Supreme Court justices passed away last week. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died of cancer, and it's a very tragic end of an era. She was nominated by Bill Clinton back in the 90s, and she served on the Supreme Court in some pretty monumental cases and times. She supported women's rights and other things like progressive movements and other woke liberal causes for a long time now, so her passing under the Trump administration is pretty significant, especially leading up to this new election that's coming in less than 2 months from now. So this was a big curveball for all of us, and I'm going to explain some of the finer details today. I'm going to go over the story and how Trump is moving forward with nominating a new Supreme Court justice that will likely get pushed through pretty quickly considering all the numbers and stuff. And in addition, we're going to talk more about Ruth Bader Ginsburg too and her legacy and how this whole process works, because I think a lot of people aren't super familiar with the Supreme Court. I'm not a super expert on it, but I do remember the basics from school. I've kept up with it through my career here on YouTube. I follow a lot of politics, of course, so I'm going to explain more and spell it out and give you guys the deets real soon. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First of all, the Supreme Court is the highest court of the land here in America. They're one of three wings of our federal American government system. The three wings are the executive branch, which is the president, the legislative branch, which is Congress and the Senate, and then the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court is made up of 9 Supreme Court justices. They vote on the biggest cases in America. If a case gets past its local courts and its state courts, it moves up to federal courts and eventually can lead to the Supreme Court. Now, they also have other duties. They see over big federal cases between states. They make reviews of the judicial process. They make statements and kind of have rules about how the law works. They interpret the Constitution and all kinds of other pretty important stuff. It's very, very complicated, and the finer details aren't super important today, but essentially, like I said, they're the top court. They make big decisions. They legalize things, illegalize things. You know, they've done things like legalize gay marriage. Back in the day, they made things illegal, like, you know, they came down on slavery and stuff like that in the past. They've made different rules over the years, and it makes them pretty prominent in the political process. Like, they're pretty much the most powerful figures aside from the president. The president has more centralized power as he's one executive figure who has a team under him, but the Supreme Court is spread out through 9 people right now, and one of them recently passed away. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and that's tragic. We're not here to kind of talk too much about her. We're just going to let her rest in peace and talk about how things move forward. The new process is when someone passes away on the Supreme Court, the president has the job of making a nomination for the new candidate, and then the Senate has the job to confirm that nomination. Now, obviously, they could deny it. That doesn't typically happen very much, but it is possible. They don't always pass the president's nomination, so he might have to make multiple nominations until someone gets passed. But in this case, in what we're dealing with this year in 2020, we actually are in a really good space for Republicans. Not only is this going to be Trump's 3rd Supreme Court appointment, which is a lot for the first term of a president, but in addition, Trump has the votes to pass this in the Senate. The Republicans have a majority in the Senate. We have 50 senators that are Republican right now, and they've already confirmed that they will vote and they will likely pass Trump's nomination. Now, that's not 100% either. It depends on the person. Some people can abstain or vote against it for personal reasons, not political, but so far it seems like it's pretty much a lock, especially considering some developing news that we'll get to soon. But before we get to that, let's talk more about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Let's go back a little bit. Here's an article from People about her. It says, inside Ruth Bader Ginsburg's quiet final days, she was making plans to live. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is remembered for her devotion to justice, her love of family, and her impact on the lives of millions in this week's issue of People. So I think this already could show that she was just a really beloved figure on the left. She was really loved by them as a superhero-like figure. They just were all about her. She's like super liberal, super far left, and she supported all their stuff, so they supported her. And that's a big reason why the left is triggered right now. I haven't got to mention that yet, but a lot of left-wingers are super upset about this. This is a picture of her getting assigned and, you know, swearing her in as a Supreme Court justice. President Bill Clinton nominated her. He's standing behind her. She's holding up her hand, swearing in the 90s. She's been in this post for over 20 years. She had her time. She had her good tenure. She got a lot done. You know, agree with her or not, you know, I know we have our our differences politically. And the point today is she was held up as this hero by the left. She tried to hang on for a long time too. Here you could see she died at 87 this past week. And she really was trying to hold on past Trump. That's the thing that's happened in modern times. This stuff has gotten way more political. And what happens is the judges try to resign or end their term under a friendly president. That way they could get someone to replace them that has similar beliefs. Like I said, we went over the process. So for example, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg had retired, like say 5 years ago under Obama, that would have given him the right to make her a replacement. And now the fact that she didn't make it through the Trump term is angering a lot of leftists. I don't think they're necessarily angry at her. There were a few actually that said, screw Ruth, like she didn't retire under Obama like she should have. There were a few radicals saying that. And it just goes to show how triggering this is for them. Like I said, the left is super triggered right now because they know Trump has the numbers, he has the right, he has the authority as the president to nominate and likely pass and install a new justice that's going to be conservative. That means we're going to have a majority in the Supreme Court. And this is really, really bad for the left. Now, not everyone is super excited about this. Like I said earlier, this is kind of a more complicated, like inside baseball kind of political thing. Like not everyone knows as much about the Supreme Court as they do, say, the president or their mayor or their local politicians. Even senators and representatives are more accessible to the modern person, to the common person. And the Supreme Court is a little finer tuned, but at the same time, those that are in the know, they're freaking out on the left and people are cheering and are super stoked on the right. Now, that's not because someone died, like we understand and we're being reverent. She had a great life. That's what President Trump said when he found out she was a great woman, had a great life. What else is there to say? I agree with that too. We're not here to dance on anyone's grave, but it is a good next step that Trump is still president. He can nominate the person. We know that we have the votes in the Senate to pass them. And that's part of the reason why the left is so triggered right now. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg may have only stood 5 feet tall, but she was one of the fiercest fighters for equal rights. And that fierceness persisted even in the days before her death. In this week's People cover story, longtime friend and neighbor Sanford Greenberg says that Ginsburg was making plans to live just 2 weeks before she died on Friday at age 87. In early September, Ginsburg returned from the hospital after fighting an infection. In the last years of her life, Ginsburg was in and out of hospital for various health concerns. She died due to complications from a recurrence of pancreatic cancer she had improbably beaten 11 years earlier. Ginsburg called Greenberg to prepare a speech she promised to record for his upcoming End Blindness by 2020 awards ceremony. So Ginsburg, Greenberg, just similar people in similar positions in the law. And there's a picture of her right there. Kind of scary looking. I'm not going to lie to you. But again, a great woman, great career. Just, I don't know, that not the best picture, not very flattering. I'm not sure if they had much to work with. But the point here is something worth pointing out was the fact that she was trying to hold on. She had a lot of health issues for the last many years. Like she was pretty much incapacitated the last year. And that's an issue with the whole Supreme Court process. They're appointed for life. So unless they retire at their own will, they're going to stay in there until they die. And a lot of times when they're super political like Ruth, they're going to hold on as long as they can because they can't let go of the power. They have nothing else going for them. They're just super hyper political. That's all they care about. And that's what's become an issue here because later in life, they can't really operate properly, even though they claim they can. And in addition, they appear to conceal their health problems. Like it really seems like Ruth might have been misleading. Like this thing says, earlier in the year, she didn't claim she had cancer. She said it was just an infection. So there were some conflicting reports from what she said and what the hospital said. And a lot of people are starting to think that she was just not telling people how sick she was because she didn't want to alarm people and people to think she was going to go before the election. She was trying to get it through the end of the year and she almost got it too. I mean, we're only 2 months away, but fortunately that's just enough time to get a new one through before the election, which is what we want. We don't want to not fill this seat, which is kind of the big recommendation from the left. They're very much talking about trying not to fill this seat, and they really should because it needs to be done before the election, especially since things are so contested right now. And it's likely there could need to be a decision from the Supreme Court on the election, which is something they did on other contentious elections. Like they just are the final authority in a lot of these things. So having an 8-person, one person missing on the Supreme Court can make a big difference. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to pass it in time, especially in light of other new developments on this story, which we'll get to soon. I mean, I think we already got through Ruth enough. We could jump right to the Mitt Romney announcement. This is a big surprise because the Republicans are really close to having this majority locked in vote in the Senate. They have about 50 right now, and that was not counting Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is a bit of a centrist, let's say, these days. He's a rhino, as they call it, Republican in name only. He also really hates Trump. So he's done a lot of things that are not Republican leaning, even though he claims to be a Republican. And this is a surprise announcement from him. He said he will go forward and vote on the nominee. He does believe the president has the power to make the appointment, which he does. So he's almost basically admitting that he will vote and approve this nominee coming from Trump ahead of the election, which is kind of a new thing because some people predicted he would at least, not vote and just stay out of it and then basically do what he can to not make this happen until after the election. And this announcement from Mitt Romney is saying he won't block the vote. And that is basically, almost saying we're going to win. Now, there's a lot of factors. It depends on the nominee and if they work and if everyone goes along with it. But that's very likely. They've already been kind of talking to people on the side. You can call your other co-senators and see how they're going to vote. And I think we have the votes now, especially with Mitt Romney on board. This is a big development. I think that's going to help us push this through quickly too, which is going to be helped since back in 2017, they changed the rules and said you can't filibuster anymore, which would have helped them now. But the filibuster has been removed from these nominations. And basically it could just take a few weeks and we have a new Supreme Court nominee, which will be great. And that'll be a good sign for our side that'll help, quell these problems. I'm sure the left will get triggered and go crazy again, but who cares at this point? They do that where everything, you can't base your life around whether or not the liberals are going to riot. They basically do that every chance they get. And the last thing to check out today is Trump announced he will make an announcement on Saturday. So by Saturday this week, we'll know who the announcement and the nominees are. Specifically, some people are guessing it's going to be this chick. I would be happy with that. She looks like a great nominee. And I would actually be very interested because it seems like there could be a hot chick on the Supreme Court, which is a big turn from the person they're replacing, as we saw in the previous pictures. But yeah, Trump announces he's going to have a nominee by Saturday. That means the Senate could move forward next week. It could take, just a few more weeks of that, and we could have the nominee by the end of October by the election easily. It doesn't take that long to, read a resume, ask a few questions. Like, I think it could all be done in a week if you just get your stuff together and get the American people what they want. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed what you saw. Subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications too. Until next time, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.